Kraus, Amplifying the Female Athlete Voice. Emily is our clinical assistant professor at Stanford Children's Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center and the director of Stanford's Female Athlete Program within the Alliance. Emily.
So it is very exciting to see so many familiar faces all in the same space. Heather, thank you for that warm welcome. I'm inspired to be alongside such thought leaders in the field and presenting today. So a lot of you are well-versed in a lot of these statistics on female athlete research, but I wanted to share this audit of 6 sports medicine and sports science journals from 2014 to 2020. 34% of female athletes were participated in these studies, or female athlete participation was at a rate of 34%. 6% of total publications were conducted exclusively on females, and of the studies on male athletes, 0.6% were studying male-specific factors. So that left so many studies on the table that could have been making sex-specific comparisons. Female athletes are using their voice in the media, and they're sharing their experiences, from calling for more research on menstrual cycle in sport and performance, to sharing their experiences with relative energy deficiency in sport and how they overcame that and had breakthrough seasons, and making cover stories talking about mental health and how mental health should be prioritized. More and more females are realizing and appreciating that a healthy body and a healthy mind can positively impact performance. So athletes, we hear you. Please keep speaking up. So our research with the Female Athlete Voice Project keeps in mind and is designed for the female athlete. It is a collaborative study with a number of different researchers who are in this audience today, from Boston Children's, from Stanford, from University of Washington, USOPC, and we've received funding from the Voice in Sport Foundation, as well as team support from the Tsai Human Performance Alliance. So we wanted to know, what sports medicine and sports science topics do female Team USA athletes believe would best support their ongoing sport participation and enhance their performance and well-being in sport? We also wanted to know if there were information gaps, if those were related to a lack of research, a lack of translation, or a combination of that. So we recruited female USOPC athletes to participate in the study. We also created a panel of sports science topic experts to develop that initial sports science list. And then those athletes went through 3 rounds of pretty extensive surveys. And that's based on a Delphi design, which is ideal for determining consensus among topic experts. And we feel that the athletes are the experts in these topics. At the end, or actually through each survey, they ranked the topics on a scale of 1 to 5. They then provided justifications on those topics and then provided additional topics that they found would be interesting or important to them. Our final analysis and identification of highest ranked topics were shared with the athletes, and I'll share them with you today. So here's a breakdown of our key demographics for this study. We had 40 female athletes go through all 3 Delphi rounds, which was pretty impressive, and we were able to maintain that thanks to Rory Kelly's great reminder emails every time. You can see the breakdown of some of the areas that we really wanted to try and create a representative sample of the athlete population. We fell short in the areas of athletes of color as well as Paralympic athletes. So we were excited to see consensus on topic scores improving each round, with increasing means and decreasing standard deviations. So here's our final breakdown of the topics that we found that athletes felt were most important to their health and performance. So this is simplified. The actual descriptions are in much more detail and in depth, but I wanted for it to fit all nicely in one slide. So there are 14 topics that were listed in this final round. What I wanted to share were our top 5 topics. Number 1, how the symptoms before, during, and after the bleeding phase of a menstrual cycle impact training and performance. Tied for first was the impact of female physiology, including menstrual cycle, on the recovery process and the effectiveness of various recovery modalities and approaches. Next, the short and long-term effects of specific types of birth control options on health, performance, and well-being. Tools, strategies, and interventions that support and strengthen mental skills, training, and performance for female athletes with or without mental health diagnoses. And lastly, how to best fuel at different stages of the menstrual cycle to enhance performance, health, and well-being. So you probably see this theme. Menstrual cycle is mentioned multiple times in different areas and in different ways, from symptoms during training and performance during different phases, to how the recovery implications, to different fueling strategies. And these are the questions that we often hear and sometimes are the hardest to answer because we don't have all of those answers. So it makes sense that these athletes are wanting to know more about these topics. Also of interest were the topics that were derived directly from the athlete insights. So you can see those first three made the top 5 list. 2 other topics of note were team dynamics and interpersonal relationships between and among teammates, coaches, and staff, and the impact of institutionalized sexism and male-dominated spaces. Dr. Nicole Keith will be coming up next, and she'll be sharing a lot more about the isms, and I'm excited for you to hear that talk. So I'm not going to break this down today because I don't have enough time, but here is an example of one of the reports for one of the topics that we share with the athletes. So we go into the detail about why we changed the topics, all the different rounds, and the illustrative justifications and dissenting justifications for the athletes. The response was overwhelmingly positive from these female athletes. Some of the reflections and the quotes I wanted to share with you. For me, I was always seeing limits due to my body, and I'm eager to learn and help identify areas of knowledge that we can improve access to so other female athletes can reach greater heights in their careers. I truly appreciated putting the athlete at the center of deciding the topics of what future research would take place, rather than assuming what would be best for us. That is huge, and I don't think I've ever seen it before. So some of the other work that we're doing within our female athlete research team, I just wanted to share very quickly. We wrapped up our FASTER pilot study, which used educational videos from sports science experts, as well as inspirational stories from athletes. And we found that those educational videos, in addition to a group that just received educational readings, both had significant increase in knowledge in those high school runners that we studied. However, the group that received just the videos reported more interest in the content. Our FASTER team is involved in a multi-center study, which is PI'd by Dr. Michael Fredrickson and Dr. Aurelia Nativ at UCLA. We found that a nutrition education intervention significantly reduced trabecular-rich bone stress injury rates in female distance runners at 2 institutions, and overall bone stress injury rates at 1 institution. We're expanding the study to other sites as well. And ongoing research that we're doing is our WATS, or Women's Athletics Team Talks, which utilize feedback from collegiate athletes to guide athlete-driven team talks using pre-talk surveys about sports science and sports medicine topics specific to female athlete health, performance, and well-being. Again, we're really trying to use the voice to drive that translation of the research, which I find incredibly important. We are launching our talks next week to lacrosse and basketball. Another study that we're excited to dive into is a longitudinal study on the hormonal profile of female ultramarathon runners and the investigation of the hormonal response to training. And lastly, Dr. Morgan Smith is in her early stages, and she's part of Dr. Mike Snyder's lab, who presented earlier, on combining multi-omic and clinical measures to create unique athlete profiles for early detection of relative energy deficiency in sport based on risk level. So I want to give a big thank you to our FASTER team. FASTER is our lovingly is what we call our team. It stands for Female Athlete Science and Translational Research. They're hard workers. They do a lot of translational work as well as the core research. And I also wanted to acknowledge and thank all of our other research collaborators. Dr. Ackerman has been a great mentor and a collaborator at Harvard, Boston Children's, and also all these other great mentors that I've been able to work with. So I also want to thank the athletes. The athletes have been contributing through our FASTER videos, the athletes at the U.S. Olympic as part of the Female Athlete Voice Project. Their voices are incredibly important, and I think we need to continue to keep listening to those voices. And so I'm excited to continue to dive and continue to support these athletes and continue to elevate the athlete voice in all of our research and translational efforts. Thank you for your time.